For those of you that were here last year, I told the story of the night we lost Jackson for the first time ever in that depth. And tonight, you're going to hear Larry pick it up from where I left it off last year, but I'm just going to lean into it for him. Our sweet Jackson was 22 months old. He had blonde, curly hair, big brown eyes, and a smile that would melt your heart. His baby sister was 6 weeks old, and he loved her fiercely. On Sunday, December 8th, 2003, we attended church, the four of us. We went to Morris Park and had brunch with Santa, and we took the treasured photo of the four of us, the one and only we have. I thought to myself, this is what I have always dreamt of. The perfect family, and my life cannot get any better than this. Thank you, Father. And then Monday arrived, December 8th, and our world was turned upside down. It is evening, and the nanny, her cousin, Jackson, Lily, and I return home from trying to get some Christmas shopping done. I'm in the house preparing to feed Lily, and I hear the SUV engine start up. It wasn't a few minutes later, and the nanny runs into the house screaming, "I hit Jackson." I lay Lily into her infant carrier, and I tell the nanny to call 911. I ran out the garage door and into our parking area. And as I share this 21 and a half years later, I vividly see Jackson laying on the concrete and instantly know he's gone. He's no longer with us. As I sit holding Jackson with so many emotions running through me, the one I feared most was how was Larry going to react? I began to dread his arrival home. And at the same time, I wanted and I needed him to wrap his arms around me, hold me, tell me he loves me, and he's not angry at me.
You guys are going to have to bear with me. It was December 8, 2003. It was a Monday night. I had just left that morning for Lansing, Michigan for continuing ed. Back then, I couldn't do it online. Had to go up there and sit for it. And it was about 8:30 in the evening. I was just finishing dinner at a restaurant just a few blocks from the hotel that I was staying at. And as I got up to leave, my phone was ringing. So I couldn't hear it, so I walked outside to answer it. The person calling me was the cousin of the nanny. And she was crying on the phone. She was crying so hard I couldn't understand what she was saying. Finally, she said, "Jackson's gone." I couldn't believe what I heard. I kept asking her what she meant. Finally, she said, "Jackson's been run over in our driveway, and he died." And then she hung up. I instantly called the house phone. No one picked it up. I stood there, stumbled to the car, and drove back to the hotel a couple of blocks away and went up to the room and called the house phone again, and no one picked up. I made an instant decision. I grabbed my suitcase, went downstairs, checked out, went to the car. As I was getting in the car, Lance called me. He said, "Dad, I'm coming up with Larry to pick you up and bring you back to South Bend." I said, "Lance, I'm already in the car. I'm already traveling. I'm not waiting. I am driving to South Bend now." That 2-hour drive from Lansing, Michigan to South Bend was the longest drive I've ever had in my life. During that drive, I cried. I prayed. I prayed to God and asked, "Why Jackson? Why not me?" I would have gladly traded places with Jackson. I had lived a good life. I thought about it. lived a long life. No answer came to me that night, nor did I receive an answer until years later. On that December night, it should have been snowing, but it wasn't. It was raining so hard. It was bumper to bumper on I-95. And I am sure I broke every speed limit on that highway coming home. I pulled into the driveway, got out of the car, walked into the house. Most of our family was there. Our pastor was there. A few friends were there. Instantly, I saw Sherry. She was holding Lily. I walked across the room to her, embraced her, and there we stood, crying in each other's arms. That night, after everybody had left, Sherry and I stayed awake talking about the accident, talking about Jackson, talking about all the memories of Jackson in the 22 months he was alive. And we vowed that night and pledged to each other that the tragedy would not break us apart and would not make us bitter. We did a lot of praying that night. The next year was hard. It seemed everything we saw made us think of Jackson. Little kids, toddlers. It was amazing. It took me several weeks before I went back into the office. Thank goodness my sons were there and the staff that support us every day. When I would go in the office, I could only stay a few hours. And my mind started wandering. I'd get up and I'd leave. I'd drive to Bremen, where the cemetery is at, and Jackson's grave. We have a little bench in front of his gravestone. I would sit on that bench and pray to God. And we knew that we had to keep going because we had a 6-week-old daughter that needed both Sherry and I and needed our family. About a year later, during one of our many conversations, we came up with the Jackson Foundation plan. Now, I say plan, it was a seed that came to us that we planted. And so, to keep Jackson's memory alive, we gathered the children together and their spouses, and we started talking about what we do and what we could do. And we determined that because Jackson was preschool, that we would help preschool-aged children. We still didn't know exactly how. But as we discussed it with the older children, the foundation began to take on a life of its own. We met, formed a board of directors consisting of the 5 older children and their spouses, and began to flesh out the many questions that were constantly presented to us. It started with preschool children, then expanded a year later to preschool children through high school, and finally, we settled on what we have today: preschool, elementary, middle school, high school, and 4 years of higher education, college or trade school, whichever they decide to follow. As I talked earlier about, I prayed to God all the way to South Bend that fateful night. Why not me? Many years later, my prayers were answered. Every day from the date of that accident on, I would pray to God, and that was the prayer I've said every morning or evening. Why did you take Jackson and why not me? I couldn't understand. I couldn't get my mind around it. Fast forward 8 years. It was early December. We had a few Jackson scholars. Sherry and I received a call from Jacqueline Kronk, our then executive director, informing us that the parents of the Jackson scholars would like to meet us at Good Shepherd Montessori School, where most of our Jackson scholars at that point were attending school. Well, if any of you have been involved in any foundations or school boards, you know when you get a call from parents, that's not always a good meeting that they want to have, right? So, but Jacqueline said, no. This is something special. Go with the flow. Well, we went with the flow. So we drove, and Lily, Chloe, Sherry, and I went to the Montessori school at the designated time. As we walked up to the building, there was a Jackson scholar's older sibling waiting for us outside. And He took us in, took us down to the cafeteria. And as we walked down there, there were 3 round tables, much similar to this. White tablecloths, everything set up, plates, silverware, glasses. And what we realized immediately was the Jackson Scholar parents didn't know what to get Sherry and I for Christmas, so they made a home-cooked meal for us. That was the gift. During the meals, we talked. My eyes wandered across the room and lit on the second table where the Jackson Scholars and Lily and Chloe were sitting. And instantly, I heard a voice. And that voice said, you have asked why. Now you know. In an instant, I knew why God had chosen Jackson and not me. He had plans for Sherry and I and our family, the Swink family, to do what we're doing today, to start a foundation to help less privileged children. Had not Jackson been taken from us that cold December night, we would, our family, would have continued to go our merry way doing what we'd always done, thinking about ourselves, tending to business, staying focused, but very narrowly. Instead, God had a different plan for us, to help and nurture Jackson Scholars and their families. The path God put us on that night has not been easy. Extremely rewarding, but not been easy. But the doors He has opened and the friends He has allowed us to make and the Jackson Scholars we have today is nothing short of a miracle. Today, as Jeannie said, we have 27 Jackson Scholars, ranging from 2.5 years old to 19 years old, preschool through first year of college. Each of you here tonight is helping us celebrate Jackson's memory and helping us continue our mission with our Jackson Scholars. From Sherry, me, the Swank family, we want to thank you very, very much. God bless you all.